As Britain's youngest mum gives birth at 12, what's the UK doing to tackle teenage pregnancy?
Well, the numbers of under-18s having babies has halved over the past decade, but one charity is warning any progress could be undone as budget cuts put sex education services under threat.
Joining us in the studio, Hilary Pannack from the teenage pregnancy charity Straight Talking, and Frances Capon, a young mum who gave birth at 16. Very good morning. Very brave of you, I think, in some ways, to come in and sort of just be here and answer questions people might have. Do you want to just take us through your story first? Welcome, by the way. But what was the tale? Tell us.
I fell pregnant at 16.
And you were you at school at this time?
Yeah. I was at school on and off. Didn't really go to school much, to be honest. And then got pregnant at 16. Then I ended up moving into a flat in the middle of Wythenshawe. And I was all like on my own. I had baby's dad around, but I wasn't near family or anything.
And your little girl, you had a little girl?
Yeah.
So she's two and a half
Yeah,
now.
2.5 now, yeah. She's great. She's a good girl, but she's a big struggle.
Can I ask you just to reflect a little bit, because you've heard the way people are talking about teenagers and about getting pregnant too young. I mean, no one would expect you to wish away what's happened to you because you have a beautiful little girl now. But what are your own reflections on the effect it's had on your life?
I wish I would have waited, because I still would have had the same little girl. She would have just come a little bit later on in life when I'd experienced a few more things and, like, got to finish being a teenager, because now my first priority is being mum. And then I'm a teenager, so I didn't really get to finish that bit off, and that's it's an okay thing in a way, because I love my little girl. Like, she's my world. She's great. But I would say to people, like, just to wait a little bit longer, not to get into it too young, because you're not you anymore. You've got to be someone else, and you've got to be really responsible then. And
Hilary, the reason we're talking about this is because there's a very young girl who's had her she must have been pregnant when she was 11. So, I mean, that's, it's quite different in some ways to the story. But there has been good news around teenage pregnancies, hasn't there? So there has been a lot of progress made.
There has, and we've just had the figures out in February. However, those figures are from 2012, and since then, there's been a great number of local authority cuts, a lot of people with a lot of experience and expertise who were running projects, who were supporting teenage parents. They've all gone. And that's, I think we need to be concerned about that. And I think, this is highlighting something that we need to talk about again. I'm concerned because high youth unemployment may be something that young people look at and think, I don't have much of a future. I've disengaged from education. And actually, what can I do with my life? And I don't know if you felt like that, but I think a lot of the young people that we work with...
That is the answer?
That it's not an answer as such, but it's a way out. And I would never accuse a teenage parent of having a child deliberately to be supported by the state, but I think there's something there about, not having much of a future.
Frances?
Well, I used to have ambitions to be like a vet, but I didn't go to school much, and having Mia has given me, because to be honest, I didn't have the greatest upbringing, and then I had Mia, and you suddenly you know what it's like, and you want your child to have everything. So then I wanted to go into college and get some kind of education to be able to get a decent job. So I had qualifications behind me, so she could grow up and look at me from having a nice, decent job and go into the same thing, hopefully.
Can I ask you, Frances, you cast your mind back to when you first found out, or when you knew?
Yeah.
What was your mindset then? Was it one of thinking, oh my word, my world has disappeared beneath me, or was it something? What was it going on in your head?
I was happy. Like I felt like it was good for me personally. Like I felt like it was the thing that was going to make my life better and help me to do what I needed to do and give me that responsibility. And
Hilary, you've just talked about sort of attitudes.
Yes.
How much, though, difference does education make?
I think education makes a huge difference. I think, if I can just say that Straight Talking employs teenage parents to go into schools as peer educators to run a programme about what it's really like. We're not the answer to teenage pregnancy, but young people need to have relationships and sex education. They need to be very clear. They need to know how not to get pregnant and why not to get pregnant. And actually, there's a nice ending to this because I promised Frances that we're going to employ her up here in Birmingham.
Okay. Well, so that is a good
So
result.
there's a future for her. And we not only prevent teenage pregnancy, but we get young people like Frances into education, employment and training.
It's very interesting talking to you both. Thank you.
Thank you very
Hilary
much.
Frances, thank you.
Coming up on Breakfast this morning, we're going to meet the woman on a mission to get boys back into books, but it's Children's Laureate Mallory Blackman fighting a losing battle.
Time now to get the news, travel and weather where you are.